the features in 2016 is the enhancements of this shader effects real-time visual shader editor that allows more options, better shader interoperability, so you can now go between Max and Maya. And for people that use Maya, they would know more about what shaders are and the way that it's used in practice for assigning materials to models. So anyway, so the idea here is that you can go back and forth between Max and Maya, so you can exchange more advanced shaders easily. So that's along the workflow interaction between all the components. What I see as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, for Max 2016, and maybe the selling point for this year, is what they call Max Creation Graph, which basically what it is, and I'll show you an example in just a minute, is simplified scripting. You know that there's Max scripting, and you can create, similar to AutoCAD or the Revit API, you can create kind of add-ons or automated routines. But basically what it is computational design, which you see probably in other applications or in other industries. Like a good example is visual programming language that is trending at many architecture firms. As an example, Grasshopper for Rhino, the open source Dynamo for Revit, which basically allows parametric design tools connected to parameters. And those parameters are basically don't require advanced language programming. So basically all is all visual and is in node based, which I'll show you in a second, where you connect things basically by dragging and dropping. And that allows, in this case, the Max Creation Graph or MCG. Basically now it will allow you to provide options for combining just the parameter needs that you need for a particular task in one place using a visual node-based workflow that will allow you to create geometry that is custom, modifiers that may be limited, and of course this is the best part, can be packaged, can be installed as a native tool along the default tools, and it can be shared by non-programmers and other colleagues. So you can create your own new tools that will basically be a macro of several other tools or a combination of all. Basically, it combines every single parameter that you can think of into one tool. It's creating a new tool that doesn't exist or a tool that can do many, many things at once and allow you to use that across the board, not just necessarily for one task, but maybe as a default thing that an office is used. An example and something that you can do now, today, is one of the lead developers, Christopher Diggins from Autodesk. If you go on Google and just type in Max Creation Graph, you'll see his blog. And of course, you'll see some samples you can start using right away. And I'll show you a couple of them right now. So basically, what the new tools allow is create things faster in something that may be really, really complicated or will take many steps to do all on one, and allow you to now, without any programming or code, tweak things in a fraction of the time. So let me show you what that is. And actually go through the whole experience in terms of launching 3 Studio Max. So when you first launch it, like I mentioned before, you get the experience, you get a number of requests, and you can skip those as needed. But if you want to start with different default workspace, if you want to start with different ribbon and so forth. So let me just launch that in 1 second, so you can see in action at least the Max Creation Graph, which is, I say, one of the biggest one and the best. And actually, what that launches, in the screen here, you see the modifier toolbar, the modifier area, which allows you to expand on the parameters that are basic for some of the components. So for those of you who have used Max, you know what the modifier tab is. But for those of you who are new to Max, basically think of it like a way to expand on properties for a particular object. And let me just make sure that this launches before moving forward. So this is your property bar. So if you were in AutoCAD, you will see a property palette. If you were in Revit, you will see the property bar area. And then what happens in Max is you have these particular parameters that come out of the box for certain components, like let's say a cube or a model that you import. And then once that's created, let me just go back to this. Once that's created, you can add additional parameters. There you go. So I'm going to go with the default data template. And then here's what I was referring to. So let's say I create something simple as a box, just like this. So if you look at this, basically the properties are in the modifier tab, and in here you'll see things such as changing the length, changing the width, and of course kind of semi-parametric, just like you're maybe familiar with BIM processes. But the key point here is the ribbon, the bar for modifiers is limited to what you see here. And of course you can customize things through creating Max scripts that will expand and combine different tools and tasks into one button, but that would have required in the past very custom knowledge. And today, you can basically now create what they call a Max creation graph. This right here is all, like I said, it's all visual. So basically, you have properties like dimensioning and things of that nature. So let's say for camera, field of view. So in here, for a camera, if I wanted to connect something, I can definitely just start dragging components from one property parameter for one area of elements, and there are hundreds of different parameters within all these different categories, by the way, and then connect one to the other. So just by dragging and dropping, you can see that it's very similar to Grasshopper, or very similar, and of course, it's got to make sense. So I don't have anything customized here because we don't have enough time to go through the whole process, but I do have a few already created, and the beauty of this is that you can take stuff that is already being created by somebody else and just open it. And once you open it, basically, and let me show you a few here that I downloaded from the internet, you can tweak it if you wanted to. So you combine parameters like dimensions with, things like controlling elements like rotation, or something that controls movement, or control anything that you can think of, connect it with each other and create your new tool. So what it means is that you may have 10 steps to create something, and then just generate one button that in the end you save, and it will be now a new category of modifier that will show up on the list. So let's take a look at a couple, just as an example, to give you an idea on how cool this is. So these were developed by Christopher Diggins, and just to show you as an example, if I were to use a modifier such as, let me give you one that is pretty cool, say the boxifier, and this is a name that you can just give. So I have a sphere, that sphere, and again, it could be any geometry. I just go to my modifier list, something that was already custom created, and I'm going to use the one called boxify. And what it is, it automatically takes probably 4 or 5 modifiers that would have taken for you to create this, or maybe convert this into meshes, and then that mesh you have to sub-select it, and then once you have the editable poly, you will have to maybe select all the things and modify them. So all these different things, in terms of processes, is now reduced to one button that will automatically give you this and maybe control it further to make it further refined, if you see what I'm talking about. So that's just one. How about something like this? Let me just reduce this in scale. So this is another one that is pretty cool. So you know for sure that there's a clone tool. Basically, it's a way to copy elements, and you can copy things as instances, as references. But that's it. That's it in terms of control. But let's say if you were to combine maybe 5, 6 different tasks in terms of I want to clone it, I want to instance it, but I also want to be able to tweak it in terms of the XYZ, the distance in between the components. I want to tweak the rotation between the components, and that's just maybe 7 different tasks that you can take under one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use one called clone modifier, and you'll see how cool this one is. So, and again, all this is for free, available by the way. So I'm going to take this element, which could have been a set of columns that I want to, array it. So I'm going to change the number of clones. I'm going to space the X value, and then you can see that it's all dynamic. I can just easily just continue expanding. And then all of these things that I'm showing you can be animated. So you can see that I can go from here to there and just do that, but also go maybe on the X value and tweak it, maybe on the Z value and tweak it. And this is where it gets pretty cool. Now I can go maybe on a rotation like this and create a very, very organic component that I can control. And you can see that I can still go back to my box component and edit the original source element, and it acts as a modifier. So again, I can add and stack them on top of each other and start creating more components. So the cool thing is the ability to animate all these things, like I said before, through these parameters. I can just go here and reduce that to maybe that, and maybe change the offset, and maybe change some of the rotation here, and let's see how that looks like. Let me actually take that to make it a little longer. So here you go. If I hit play, you can see that there's all these different things happening, and of course, like I said, it's combining all tasks in the same manner that you would create a routine or a script or a macro in Adobe or whatever you want to call it, and be able to streamline the processes. So definitely, Max Creation Graph gives user a modern and logical way to extend the capabilities of 3D Studio Max with new geometric object modifiers by creating graphs in a visual environment, similar to what the slate material editor is. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. But now you have hundreds of different node types operators that can be connected together to create new tools for modeling, materials, visual effects, you name it. And what's more, you have the ability to create those, save it, and share it. So you can create a brand new tool that would allow you to create water in a matter of seconds, for example. And maybe the water that is flowing and maybe create rain, or, I mean, you name it. Anything that you can do in Max can be now automated. So that being said, I would say that it's one of the, if not the best, one of the best. And of course, not the only one. Few other enhancements that I like to mention, since we're running a little bit out of time, is the Xref renovations. For those of you who haven't used Xrefs, they're very similar to the way the CAD works. But you know that they're not tricky. It's just the way that you control them. It has been limited in the past. So what is new, and I don't want to take too much time on this one, what is new about Xrefs is the ability to be able to assign, as an example, one sofa can be used in multiple files, and then each file can have now a unique type of fabric. But I'm still retaining the original source geometry that I can make changes, but I can, in the master scene, I can make changes to the materials. So when something changes in the geometry, for instance, I can just update one as an Xref, and then everything else updates. But at the same time, I can control the animation, the texture, and anything else that is related to that geometry independently without affecting, one instance or the other. So it just gives you the ability to work quickly, access directly the modifier stack, and make quick adjustments for things like texturing and animation.